GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, Dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered. And that's MVS and Justin Watson with some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues. If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow, comma, semicolon, period, next sentence, to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
and Jay
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How good is he? Let's go! GMGP. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake up with Ray and Jay in the morning, and we appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear, everybody that's going to tap in after the fact, who's watching on YouTube, X, Twitter, whatever the hell you call it. What's up, Joe? My girl Joe in the damn building. What's up, Joe? How you doing, my girl? How's everything going? My boy Dan Smith in the building. What's happening with you? Garrison, what's up, baby? Jimbo, I see you in the building. What's going on? I don't know what y'all laughing at this morning. Jimbo, Patrick, Luke. Who else we got in the building? I said Dan, Cole World, TDE, Jordan Baker, Taylor. GMGP to you, Taylor. Taylor. Conja in the building. And Mrs. GQ, she the baddest. 1908 in the building. Appreciate you, baby mama. Welcome into the show. We got a lot to talk about. News, injuries, some sort of a mock draft that we're going to talk about, the 2025 class, and some of the things that are happening right now in the NFL that have us a little concerned. JRich, how you doing this morning? Big dog, how you feeling, baby?
I'm good. Yeah, you're really going to put my knowledge to the test today. Talking 2025
Get your coffee out, people.
Mock
Get you a
drafts.
cup. Get you a cup, people.
Yeah, Ray, you've been working on that coffee sponsor. We got to get back to that. That was
Dude,
some good days.
We
freaking
lost it.
Good stuff, though.
We need to get another one. Jay, what's up, baby? Let's get into it. We got a lot to cover. We got a lot to get to. There were some players and some teams and some games and some stuff that we didn't talk about on Monday. If you're new to the content, if you're new to the station, appreciate you being here. Got a lot of stuff dropping. Yesterday, Jay, Dynasty Theory on the channel right now. Dynasty Theory dropped a show. Make sure you check that out. I'm going to put it on the TV here in a minute. We also had Scott Connor talking about Isaiah Pacheco, what to do now that we know we've lost Pacheco. We'll get into that. Check out all the podcasts. What dropped on the feed, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, we got the Pacheco piece, which people are loving. We got Dynasty Theory, which has been a little controversial with some Caleb Williams takes. Yeah, it's been a little spicy.
Yeah, a little spicy in there.
So if you haven't seen it, look at Mark.
YouTube comment, man. Let them get some of that YouTube slander, baby.
Our commenters, they don't chill, man. They don't chill. But yeah, we have lots of stuff dropping today. We have the Best Ball Night School guys dropping tonight. Shout out to Mark for knowing I'm rocking a Coventry City shirt, who was given to me by my buddy. I actually stayed in their stadium when I was in the UK, so that's why I'm wearing the shirt. And they play Tottenham today in the Cup. But Ray, we are here to talk football, and there was a lot of news that broke just in the past couple of days, which is crazy. We were kind of waiting for the fallout of Isaiah Pacheco. He's obviously out, broken fibula, back in 6 to 8, 10, 12. Who knows when he's back? We don't have an official timeline because it's a bone and it's got to heal. But they did bring back an old face, not Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt, Ray, is back. And I mean, what does it mean? One, he knows the offense. Two, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid trust him. The question is he in shape? And can he handle a workload in week 3, week 4, week 5? And what does that timeline look like? That's the number one question with Kareem Hunt. Is he washed? Is he healthy? And can he actually handle that full touch load in this offense? How are you approaching Kareem Hunt very quickly? And then we'll head through the news.
Jay, how long ago was Kareem Hunt in Kansas City? I'm just curious.
It's got to be at least 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. It's been a while.
He's back. I fully expected them to bring in running back competition. We said it on Monday. I was not buying the Carson Steele / Samaje Perine they're going to handle all the work. Wasn't buying it, even if it was on the clearance rack. So you bring another running back in. This makes it a three-headed, muddied, murky mess. And I honestly, Jay, if you're asking me who I think the biggest beneficiary, well, there is no beneficiary to freaking Isaiah Pacheco going down. But if I had to say there were one player who should benefit from this injury because they have no other choice but to rely upon him, it'd be that guy, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is going to have to be utilized in a short game. He's going to have to. Him and Rashee Rice. It's going to be Rice and Kelce that have to step shit up, get things done, and sort of fill in that, that short yards. They're going to have to pick up easy yards. So, if you're asking me today, who am I most excited about with this signing? It wouldn't be Kareem Hunt. It's not Carson Steele, and it's not Samaje Perine. It'd be Travis Kelce and Rashee Rice.
Yeah, this is kind of a worst-case scenario in some respect. People were bringing up Keontae Ingram, who I believe is on the practice squad, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who still isn't back. He should be back hopefully soon. He's got some personal issues he's dealing with, but they got to figure out something at running back, and Kareem Hunt probably the best solution so far. We got Tua going on IR, thank goodness. Take your time, take a break, relax, see your neurologist, assess where you're at, and then come back when you're ready. A.J. Brown said to Lisa Salters, I believe, who reported this on Monday Night Football, that he's going to be out a couple weeks with his hamstring injury. We knew he was out on Monday, but apparently it's going to be more weeks than that. Hamstring injuries can linger, and we'll get to another one in a minute. Ray, do you have any thoughts on A.J. Brown? Titans
there's
A.J.
Brown from the. I just want him back, Jay. I want him back. I don't want his hamstring hurt. I want A.J. Brown on the field. I don't give a shit. Titans jersey, Eagles jersey. I want A.J. Brown on the field. I don't like this, JRich. I don't like this hammy. I'm not feeling it. I don't like these soft tissue injuries.
Yep.
How do you feel? I mean, no big deal.
I feel bad, man. It's a deal. It's a problem because soft tissue injuries linger, and there's always the chance for re-injury during the season. Whenever you have those soft tissue injuries, they can linger, and they can have re-injury effects as well. And we'll get to another one in a little bit. That's going to be a problem for us, especially for tight ends. But Deebo Samuel also going to miss multiple weeks with a calf injury, so we'll see how long he's out. I'd expect at least a week, maybe even two. Deebo can tend to take his time sometimes with these injuries, and he's injured a lot, so he has to really make sure he's ready to come back. Cooper Kupp going to miss an extended period of time was the quote.
What does that even mean? What does it mean?
It means they're being very coy about it, but it's got to be a high ankle. Joe Mixon is also being evaluated this week. He may play. He also has an ankle injury. It's not expected to be high ankle. Bryce Young, Ray, was benched after 19 games, and we can talk about Bryce Young if you want, but I'll get through the news first, and then we can get to Bryce Young after that.
Don't go there. Don't go there yet. Just skip that and keep going.
Justin Fields is preparing to start week 3. So for anyone who is worried about Russell Wilson, he is expected to start in week 3. I wanted to point that out. Marshawn Lloyd is headed to IR with an ankle injury, but I didn't realize he suffered it in the game. I thought it was before with his soft tissue injury that he re-injured. It's actually his ankle this time. He is going on IR, so expected another high ankle sprain. Your boy Jake Ferguson is supposed to be back for week 3. And then Evan Ingram, who suffered a hamstring injury in pregame warmups on Sunday, is week to week, but Doug Peterson apparently is optimistic he's going to play in week 3, but monitor the practice reports, especially with Ingram. He's missed a lot of time throughout his career. And Jordan Addison, supposed to be potentially back for week 3. KOC said it will depend on how much practice he can get in, but we could see the Jordan Addison return from his ankle injury as well. Any thoughts on any of those players, Ray?
I mean, why do we
Doesn't
do this?
Want to talk about Bryce Young.
Why do we do this every year? We sign ourselves up for just gut-wrenching pain. Deebo hurt, 2 on IR, A.J. Brown out, Cooper Kupp extended injury, Mixon ankle banged up, Lloyd, Fields is the starter, J.K. Dobbins is getting traded for first-round picks. It's like we've just zapped back to 2020. All of this stuff is concerning. The Mixon injury, I hope he's okay. Cooper Kupp out an extended period of time. Like, honestly, Jay, Kupp out. I was reading or listening or watching something, and they said don't be shocked if the Rams just shut it down. Kupp doesn't come back. Puka Nacua doesn't come back. They've got 3 or 4 offensive linemen hurt.
Another one went on IR yesterday.
I was just reading and listening. They were saying don't be shocked if they just shut it down. for an offense that we were expecting so much firepower out of, everything has been zapped. And the one player that people were shitting on all offseason, fade him, he's the one that stayed healthy. Kyren Williams. Kyron's the one that's out there. And without
for now,
Cup, without the threat of a pass, with Matthew Stafford, I mean, you don't think Stafford goes to that line of scrimmage and looks to his right and he doesn't see Puka Nacua, and he looks to his left and he doesn't see Cooper Kupp, and instead he sees Tyler Johnson, Jordan Whittington, and DeMarcus Robinson. You think he feels good about his chances going out there week in and week out, saying, I got to throw to that guy and Tutu Atwell and Brandon Tyler Johnson? No, man. This is very bad, JRich. This Rams situation is very bad, my friend. It's very bad.
Yeah, as bad as, losing those receivers is, losing that offensive line is even worse. Imagine looking at the sideline and your entire O-line is all just in tracksuits
in street
because
clothes.
they're all hurt. It's crazy what's happened to this Rams team. They really are, Ray, emblematic of what we thought they would be last year, right? Last year we thought they'd be really bad, the offense would struggle, and the defense would be terrible, and that seems exactly what's happening this year, in that post-Aaron Donald era. But yeah, this team is just bursting at the seams, falling apart. If they shut it all down, I wouldn't be surprised at all. We did have a game on Monday. And if you want to talk about Monday Night Football, we can. But we talked about, players.
No, we must talk about Monday Night Football to a degree. We have to talk about it. So I just want to say this. Very concerned with Coop. This is just the GQ panic meter here. Very panicked on the Rams. I know somebody in the chat said they've got an early bye. No reason to be panicked. I'm fucking panicked. I am very much panicked, JRich. I am panicking on the Rams. A.J. Brown injury, it sucks, but hopefully it is just minor. Debo, I think the bigger thing with that is what happens to this Rams offense. No Debo Samuel. I'm on Twitter this morning and I see something on the side column that says Brandon Ayuk's commitment to the fort. What is going on there? I've got no idea. I thought Brandon Ayuk was paid and happy, and apparently there's
Brandon
still
Owens?
Drama. You said Ayuk Owens?
I said Brandon Owens? We got Brandon Owens?
He's not good enough to be Brandon Owens. It's like Brandon Mitchell. Remember Freddie Mitchell that thought he was better than what he was? It's like Brandon Mitchell out there. He's better than Freddie Mitchell, but you get the point. You're not a top 10 receiver. Cut the shit, get out there and play, catch the ball, run the routes, and perform for your team. I'm just worried about Brock Purdy in that offense. No Christian McCaffrey, no Debo Samuel. Yep. Those are, the two biggest chess pieces on. They're gone. That's very not good, JRich. Very not good.
Yeah, so we did have a game on Monday. 22-21 Eagles. Kirk Cousins got it done in the 2-minute drill, and the Eagles collapsed once again to no one's real surprise. I've been talking about how the secondary is atrocious, and for anyone who isn't paying attention to the schedule this week, they have the high-flying New Orleans Saints, and the Saints are at home. So fire up those Rashid Shaheed shares because Devontae Adams says he has shades of a young Tyreek Hill. Not my quote, that is Devontae Adams. But Ray, Saquon Barkley, 22 for 95. Bijan Robinson, 14 for 97 with 12 carries in the first half. I believe only 2 in the second half. That was ridiculous. But they still got the win. But Jalen Hurts has been really bad, in my opinion. He was effective running the ball, but as a passer, he's been pretty bad. And yes, A.J. Brown was out, but if you're going to lead this franchise over a team like the Falcons, you need to pass to win the game. Do you blame Kellen Moore? Do you blame Jalen Hurts? You can't really blame Saquon Barkley. He dropped one pass, but the dude is literally an animal. What do you have to say about this Eagles offense, and how do they fix it going forward?
Full transparency, I had baseball practice for the first, quarter and a half, so I didn't get to see the first quarter and a half. I saw probably about the 7-minute mark on. I think you're giving Hurts a little too much crap right now. Right now, you look at where he's at, NFL passing wise. Let me see where he is. I want to see what his EPA per dropback is right now for Jalen Hurts. He's 7th in the league. He has not been. He's 7th in the league, 0.21. It's ahead of Geno Smith, ahead of C.J. Stroud, ahead of Patrick Mahomes, ahead of Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love. He hasn't been as bad as you're making it seem, but the defense stinks. The defense stinks. Yeah. Completion percentage over expected. Jalen Hurts 7th in the NFL. So I'm not going to buy this. He's been awful. Yeah, you can't turn the ball over, but Jay, the entire NFL, the touchdowns are significantly down. There was a tweet Let me read this. Let me read this because this paints a little color to the overall season as a total. Passing touchdowns through 2 weeks. Right now in 2024, pending Monday Night Football, so this does not include Monday Night Football, there were 66 passing touchdowns through 2 weeks. Go back to 2023, 86, 2022, 105, 2021, 110, 2020, 110, and 2019, 105. 66 through Monday Night Football. So add, 4 passing touchdowns there, so around 70. I mean,
it's only 3.
This is a trend across the whole league. So I'm not gonna allow you to talk about how bad Hurts has been because there have been far worse quarterbacks so far early this season. But to your point, we hold him at a high standard, right? If you want it, you're paid like one of the elite
It's like
guys.
you said about Lamar, right?
Yes, I'm with you.
So let's go to the other side because I think there's a big conversation needs to be had, and this is kind of leading into our next topic.
You didn't touch on Saquon. Saquon dropping the ball. Any issues with Barkley? I mean,
look, for me, Saquon is literally he's probably the best running back in the NFL right now. He literally does everything for this team. I think they need to utilize him even more than they have already. It's like getting on Malik Neighbors because the Giants lost. Like, he dropped that pass on his 18th target, but he's the reason why they were in that spot in the first place. And to your point about quarterbacks, you do hold them to a higher standard. But in that game, it was the clock management, which is on the coaches to some extent. Even though that pass was dropped, it was a good play. It didn't work out. It happens. You can point to blame a lot of different places. But then, obviously, the defense collapsed, which, to no one's surprise, this is what happens. Kirk Cousins was unreal in the 2-minute drill. Drake London finally scored a touchdown. Thank goodness. Darnell Mooney, massive touchdown on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Surprise, surprise. He stinks. But Kyle Pitts, Ray. Where are you at on Kyle Pitts?
He came up and filled the hole on Bijan, something nasty, man. He came down on 4th down. I jumped out of my seat because that, sir, is how you fill a hole. That is how you fill a hole, Jay.
Yeah, everyone has their moments, but I do have to ask you where you're at with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts went 3 for 20, 4 targets. He didn't score this week, so he wasn't good for fantasy. And, I took a lot of heat when I said Darnell Mooney's going to outscore him this season, and he kicked the shit out of him in this game. I'm not saying it's going to happen every week, and I want to say this, Ray. He's got the Chiefs this week. And what tight ends have been doing to the Chiefs. So I think that Kyle Pitts can have a good game this week, and I'd probably rank him quite high. But how do you feel about this offense? Because once again, Kyle Pitts was low on the targets, and he was 5th in targets on the team, behind Ray McCloud and obviously behind Bijan Robinson.
I don't feel good. I've been Kyle Pitts stan truther since Ryan Lopes and I co-hosted the Futurecast podcast on Player Profiler. I mean, it was Pitts 101, no matter what.
Yeah.
It feels like at this point, Jay, you know what it feels like to me? It feels like another Evan Ingram situation where whatever hope we had for Kyle Pitts, it's probably not going to be unlocked in Atlanta. He is clearly not the second option. Hell, he ain't the third option because what they want to do is give Bijan Robinson the ball, and I don't understand why. He legitimately could add 200 rushing yards versus Philadelphia.
Easily.
He could add 200 rushing yards had they just given him the ball. He was that close from ripping off multiple long runs, but they want to run the ball with Bijan. They're trying to get the ball to London and move it down the field to Darnell Mooney. I am losing quickly my faith and hope of him producing. He's still incredibly young. It just feels like one of them situations where he needs to be in an offense that wants to run the offense through him. And I'm just think if, and it would never happen, but think if Kansas City had someone like that and you could, okay, now we can run the offense just like we used to in the past. Or like the Raiders are doing with Brock Bowers. We didn't talk a lot about him, but I've been so impressed by what that rookie tight end is doing. Rookie tight end, and it's only through 2 weeks. And I remember coming on here after the draft and people talking about how bad they hated that spot, Jay. All the Raiders aren't good. And I'm like, this is a great spot for Brock Bowers. So it just feels like one of those things where Kyle Pitts is not going to be unleashed and unlocked until he's in a new situation, unless things drastically change, because how many years are we continue to say, this is the year, this is the week, it's going to happen, and then it just doesn't. It just has not come to fruition in Atlanta with Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this offense and the Rams and that offense historically don't use tight ends a lot. And so it's not a complete shock. And it's why you need to look at that wide receiver 2, wide receiver C spot in this offense because they do get the targets. But yeah, I did want to bring up a point about Brock Bowers. He is second, Ray, in the NFL in receptions, tied with Malik Neighbors and Chris Godwin. And obviously, he plays tight end, so that is a massive edge. The next closest in terms of receptions at tight end is George Kittle with 11, and Brock Bowers has 15 tied with Chris Godwin and Malik Neighbors. So that just shows you already, I was skeptical, totally honest about that. I was skeptical. It is easy to put this guy at tight end 1 right now. Easy. Like if he's going to get 5 receptions a week, give me that because no one is even doing this in the league right now. People can't even, tight ends can't even get the ball at this level. If Bowers is going to do this today, at some point, Devontae Adams is not going to be there. At some point, they'll have better quarterback play. It's very difficult to not look at him and be like, man, just put him in your top 3 and just draft him because he's going to be really, really good for the foreseeable future. And what he's done already is ridiculous, and he has no touchdowns. And he's probably a top 5 tight end in fantasy.
Hey, when people people are wrong, I relish in lighting somebody up. I'm not going to light them up, but I did not fall on the floor when Bowers was drafted. I fell on the floor when the Cowboys drafted Tyler Guyton. I was very excited about Brock Bowers in LV. Very excited. And everybody who watches this show, they knows that. Very happy about that fit. I actually tweeted out how this is good having both Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. So, yeah, I don't know what draft you were watching, but that was not true. JRich, what else do you want to talk about from that game, from the Falcons-Eagles game? Anything else? Any big takeaways?
I mean, I got to see more from the Eagles, in my opinion.
You in on Kirk?
I don't think so. It's tough. He's probably going to be like a high-end QB2. I think I'm worried about his touchdown ceiling, though. I think I am. Because when I look at what's... Well, that's probably bold to some extent. Because he's not going to run, right? And it doesn't seem like that high-end passing production is going to be there because Bijan's just too good. He's too good to not give him the ball in the red zone. He's too good to, unless he's catching 7 touchdowns, which I don't think is going to happen, he's probably not finishing with 30-ish touchdowns, 25 plus, to where he'd be valuable for fantasy. So that's where it's he's probably not going to be overly valuable. But credit to Kirk, he looked much better this game, way healthier, but I don't think I'd be making any changes in terms of my fantasy ranks, trading for him, trading him away. I think he's going to be fine as a QB2, but nothing special overall.
We had somebody asking about Darnell Mooney and how we felt about Darnell Mooney. Jay, how do you feel about Darnell Mooney?
I feel great about Mooney. I don't know why you wouldn't be. If you have him, he was basically free whenever you drafted him. And I think you're going to continue to see them take shots to him. He's not Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, but he's playing that role in the offense. And if Drake London is seeing top coverage and he's being doubled in some spots, it's going to leave Darnell Mooney wide open. And there was another play, it was the first, second play of the game where they took a shot 15 yards down the field to Mooney. The pass was deflected. It wasn't completed, but they're clearly targeting Darnell Mooney. He'll be a feature in the offense. So yeah, I mean, if you got to flex him, I'm fine with it. He's probably a little bit on the lower end, but if he's making big plays like this against bad defenses, yeah, he's more than startable overall for sure.
100%. I don't feel great about Atlanta as a whole. That was 1 week.
Not as good as we hoped for.
I don't feel great about it, but I do think that what we saw was much better than what we saw the week before. What we saw this past week, Drake London in week 2, he scored 17 fantasy points, scored the touchdown. His Trinity score was a 6.71, so again, still not great. Darnell Mooney was in the 7s. I think Mooney was a 7.6, which is a little bit better than London, a little more usage. Both of them are neck and neck with what they're doing and what they're being asked to do inside of their offense. Quickly, Jay, some players that we did not talk about a lot on Monday. We kind of touched on Brock Bowers. Anthony Richardson. How you feeling about Rich right now, man? Where are you at with Anthony Richardson right now?
Ray, honestly, I'm concerned. I am. When you take out that big touchdown to Alec Pierce, he's looked really bad at times. And that's where, you get the feast and famine with Rich, but it feels like we're getting a little bit more famine than feast. It feels like we're not quite getting enough to where we can confidently put him in that, top 10, top 8 every single week. We're going to get to our quarterback ranks on our show we're going to do later. And it was hard for me to put him in that top 12. and feel confident about it because one, the matchup this week is horrendous. It's really bad again for JRich, and I'm really not so excited. He's got the Bears, and so you look at what CJ Stroud did against the Bears. How the hell is JRich going to do that unless he runs for 100 yards, which probably not going to happen. But then it doesn't stem just with JRich. It's Michael Pittman isn't performing very well. And, Alec Pierce has been good because he got 2 touchdowns. But outside of that, you're not really seeing a lot from this offense. So how do you feel about JRich? Because I just don't see enough right now to feel confident that he's going to be good. He's got 4 picks to 3 touchdowns, 200 yards in both games. He's running a little bit, but I think we need to see a little bit more. I feel like if he's not running for a touchdown, he's not a top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, I'm watching the games, and we were talking about this in our Discord, Jay. It's like Shane Steichen wants him to sit back there and pick apart defenses, and that's not JRich. And I understand that they want to keep him healthy. You can't run him a ton because if you run him, you risk putting him in harm's way. You can't have it both ways, right? You know what type of quarterback he is. Nobody lauded him or believed that he is an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady level of passer, Joe Burrow. He's an athlete, right? He can make passes. He can throw the ball. He can push it downfield, make big plays. But you got to use his athleticism. He needs to run. I get it. You don't want him to get hurt. But having him stand back there, surveying defenses and trying to just dissect, you're not letting the player be themselves. And I don't know if that's Shane Steichen in the offense. I don't know if that's Anthony Richardson in confidence or just playing safe, not wanting to get hurt. But he needs to run around. That when he's on the move and moving around, good things happen. I too am a little concerned. Hopefully he'll do a little more running.
Yeah, it's not that he's been that bad for fantasy. He's been okay because he's still running a little bit, but it's from a passing standpoint. It's just like, I compare him to Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels, the reason why I have confidence in him is that he's not afraid to check it down. He's checking it down a lot, but at least he's not throwing down the field and throwing interceptions, right? Which, it's different because Steichen's drawing up these plays and he's taking these shots, and I'm sure that's just the offense. But at the same time, it's like we just got to see a little bit more consistency or a little bit more rushing, and it just hasn't quite come to fruition yet, right? I did want to ask you about Devon Achane now with Tua being out for at least 4 weeks. Skylar Thompson going to be starting. How do you feel about him? He's RB3 in Dynasty, which I think is very appropriate, but I also believe he can be a top 3 running back going forward, rest of season, regardless of quarterback. How do you feel about that perspective?
Fire him up. Football doesn't have to be complicated. Don't overthink it. Not Tua at quarterback, whomever it is, Skylar Thompson, Ryan, whoever they bring in, it ain't Tua. I'm riding with Achane, man. You plug him in. He's an elite type guy. He's the type of player that can rip off a 90-yard run, and he's going to be fed. And enjoy him while you have him. Because if Miami wants to continue to use him that way and give him 30 opportunities, the reality is he's probably not going to last. So I'm going to enjoy the points with Achane. I'm not going to get into Dynasty, what I would do. Trade him, sure. Keep him, sure. Depends on your team. Depends on your direction. But I feel very good about him as a top 5 option moving forward every single week, regardless of matchup.
Okay, so, I'm with you. I think that he's going to be phenomenal. Last player we talk about in the AFC is Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is, we talked about this in the offseason. He's probably going to be the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers for a while. We'll see if it's the whole season. He got the nod in week 3. But how do you feel about Fields? It's not going to be great. We've kind of seen that. He's protecting the ball. He's playing smart. But for fantasy purposes, how do you feel about him going forward?
I don't feel great. The Pittsburgh Steelers have told you how they want to win. They're not going to allow him to throw the ball all over the field. They don't want him to do that. They're going to run the ball. He's going to run the ball, and then they're going to play defense. I'm very curious to see what happens when the Steelers do run up against a buzzsaw type offense where they have to put up points.
And he has to throw the ball.
But the way that they're playing right now, and if they continue to lean on that defense, and that defense is doing I don't think they've allowed 90 rushing yards to a team this season or combined. It's some crazy defensive stat. But I don't feel great about Fields. From a fantasy scoring potential, he's doing great for the Steelers. They're 2-0. He can only play against who the schedule set him up against. But I don't feel great because I don't believe the passing volume will be there. And it seems like they are truly saying, you manage this and do not screw it up. Don't turn it over. Don't put it in harm's way. Run it when you see it. Get it to George Pickens. But other than that, there are not enough options to throw the ball to for passing volume and production. And I don't believe that he's going to get enough rushing volume. He's fine, but he's outside of the top 18 quarterbacks every single week. I'm not jamming him in as a QB1. Super flex, sure, but in a single QB league, no way I'm starting Justin Fields. Zero chance.
Yeah, the Steelers defense allowing 8 points a game in the first 2 weeks, 153 rushing yards, as you mentioned, which is top 5 in the NFL. So it's just ball control, run the ball, don't turn it over. Very, very simple. There is a few more players I did want to touch on. We touched on Kyle Pitts. We touched on Jalen Hurts a little bit. I do want to ask you about your Bears offense because Caleb Williams hasn't looked good, but it's easy to look at the offensive line and say they haven't been good enough either. The moment he sees any pressure beyond 4 guys, it's over. And you know, there's the clip going around of CJ Stroud talking to him saying, you need to take less hits. People are getting on Caleb because he's not really trying to hear it. That's not a big deal for me. But what do you do with this Bears offense? Because we expect it to be a lot better. I'm almost ready to say I'm out on everybody but
I'm
DJ
not gonna
Moore.
do that. I'm not.
I'm almost there.
It doesn't look good. It at times you watch them and you, myself, and everybody talked about how great of a situation Caleb was walking into. He's got Odunze. He's got these tight ends. They upgraded the offensive line. You got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, strong running game. They don't have a strong running game. Keenan Allen is hurt. Rome Odunze is a rookie. The offensive line doesn't look much better. And this offense, quite frankly, looks a little bit worse than it did with Justin Fields and Tyson Bagent running the show. I'm Caleb Williams, truther 101. I'm not panic on him. I think he will be okay. But these are some serious rookie growing pains that he's going through right now, as well as Jaden Daniels. You look at their EP. Offensively, he's getting it done because he's running around, but it's still a struggle bus to throw the ball over the middle of the field, down the field. This should be expected from a rookie quarterback. This should be expected. The Herberts and the Burrows, I love it, but it doesn't happen like that. That's not the norm. Those are outliers that enter into the NFL. Am I worried about the Bears offense? Hell yeah, because I got a lot of Swift, at Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson.
Awful,
yeah,
man.
I mean,
awful.
Dude, it's not a good offense right now. It's not a good offense right now. Caleb would be fine. I'm not panicked on Caleb, but there are a lot of people who are like, I'm just done. I don't want any rookies. Can I trade Caleb for Kyler Murray? Can I get out of Caleb Williams and go to another direction? I mean, that's your prerogative. But I'm not panicked too much. But yeah, they look like shit right now.
Yeah, I mean, when Drake May has as many passing touchdowns as Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, it's definitely a bit of a problem. But it's only 2 weeks, so we can't. Yeah, well, combined. Yeah, he hasn't stepped on the field yet, and so But I think it's where you look at a lot of these quarterbacks. Expectations have been sky high because of CJ Stroud, and you know, a lot of them are just looking like Bryce Young right now. You know, for better or worse, you don't want to maybe go that far because Bryce Young is now benched, but it's really not looking good for any of these guys at the moment. Is there anyone else you want to touch on? I thought about maybe Geno Smith and the Seattle offense, but they're fine. I'm not ready to buy into them just yet, but they have played well for the first 2 weeks. And if you've looked at PFF grades, Seattle grades really well, both offensively and defensively. So Mike McDonald is doing a phenomenal job with Seattle through 2 weeks. And I think they could potentially be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, I think Seattle offensively, I think the best development, and I mean, it's the elephant in the room. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba being fed. You know, on Sunday, absolutely fed targets. He and DK Metcalf were the 2 primary receivers. That's what we've wanted to see all last year. We wanted to see him featured more in the offense. Here's what I'll say about Seattle's offense. I'm very curious to see what it looks like. Is any report on Ken Walker? Is Ken Walker back? Do we know?
I haven't seen anything on Walker yet. I think he could play, but we'll see. Nothing reported on Ken Walker yet, though. It's still very early. No practice yet.
I want to see. Charbonnet is not very good at running the ball. So when he's out, when Ken Walker is out, it's probably going to be a plethora of pass attempts. Very curious to see the distribution of targets in week 3, because week 1, it was like JSN and DK Metcalf did nothing. Tyler Lockett did the majority of the work. But then in week 2, Lockett did nothing, and then DK and JSN. So it's like, will the real Seattle Seahawks please stand up? I don't know which way it is. I'm hoping it's what we saw as the latter, not the former, and it's DK Metcalf and JSN being the primary targets. I want to see how it shakes out in week 3, Jay. It was too drastic of a difference between week 1 and week 2. But right now, Geno Smith, again, is still not writing back. So I'm happy that he's able to deliver the ball, get DK the ball, and get JSN. And you continue to talk about Bryce Young being benched. I know we want to get there, so let's do it. We're going to run up the likes. Y'all know what it is. We're going to go on break real quick. Hit the likes. We'll come back, and we're going to talk Bryce Young, and we're also going to talk top 10 NFL mock draft. There's some stuff that came out, some things that have happened, and we're going to discuss it. Let's get into it right after the break. Appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate y'all tapping in to everything that we do over here. We ask one thing, just hit the like button, comment, and if you find the information actionable or entertaining, hit the subscribe button. Help us out, help us grow, help us achieve a bigger reach and a wider audience. JRich, 19 games. 19 games for the number one overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. Has been benched, JRich. Bryce Young to the bench. Andy Dalton will start, and Dave Canales looks like he is on the struggle bus right now. First and foremost, initial thoughts and reactions, because we talked about this on Monday. So your initial thoughts hearing and seeing that news.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad. I mean, I did call him roadkill on Monday, but it certainly is kind of how it seems. And like, it's one of those things, you look to these past situations, and I have to ask you, Ray, like, would you be entirely shocked if Bryce Young went that Baker Mayfield route? Now, of course, Baker Mayfield was much more successful early in his career, but it took him some time and the right situation to finally unlock that potential. And I did want to ask you about Baker Mayfield's arm strength coming out of college, because I believe that was another concern for him. Size was a bit of an issue because at that time, there wasn't a lot of small quarterbacks in the league outside of Russell Wilson. But I think Bryce Young's arm strength was one of the only things outside of his size you could point to say, this is where the evaluation could fail. And we see that on Sunday. It feels like almost every single week. The strength is there. Sometimes it's not there boundary to boundary, but if he decided to, go to a new team and it worked out, I don't think I would be shocked, because I still really like Bryce, the talent, but it's clearly going to take the perfect storm for him to be successful in the NFL. He's not a truck. He is definitely a trailer, as you like to use the analogy for on this show all the time. But I am concerned, right? Like, he's not starting for Carolina again. He needs to be traded. He's not going to be released. And, where is that perfect situation for him? Because I feel like, you talked about it, and I forget who mentioned it. It might have been Dan Orlovsky. It's the Rams. Like, if he could go to the Rams, could you imagine? I'd be all in.
I like that.
I'd be all in.
I like that, Jay. But here's the reality. Carolina, you are on the clock. You are currently on the clock. It is looking like, Jay, and we'll see. We'll see what Andy Dalton does. But right now, according to Super Bowl odds and where these teams are playing and ranked right now, Carolina Panthers picking number 1. You got the Giants at 2, the Broncos at 3, Pats 4, Titans 5, Commanders 6, the Colts 7, the Raiders, the Jags, and the Rams, all with kind of similar odds at 7, 8, 9, and 10. So, JRich, what I want to do right now is combine the best of both worlds, what's happening in the NFL and what we're noticing right now in college, and talk about what could potentially shake out. Now, there was an expert college football mock that dropped yesterday. Did you see it?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, good. Don't look it up. You didn't see it.
Okay.
Good. We're going to see how good you are / me compared to the college football experts, Jay. Come on. We're going to see how good you are. So picking at number 1, the Carolina Panthers, Jay. Right now, based on what you've seen, what you know, they can't run the ball, but they drafted Jonathan Brooks. They benched Bryce Young. He's under contract. I don't know. Offensive line, Derek Brown is out. Panthers are taking a quarterback, right? Which quarterback do you think Carolina should draft right now? If it were you, if you were looking at this team, thinking about what they need, new direction, what quarterback should the Carolina Panthers go after?
If I was selecting a quarterback, it would have to be Shedeur Sanders for this team. I think that's where I would go. Again, the question of who do they draft and who can they draft are two separate discussions, because I think there is a world where they can't draft a quarterback because a quarterback doesn't want to play for them. And, I think the biggest thing here is you look at what Shedeur can do behind this Colorado offensive line. His NFL offensive line will actually be better than the Colorado offensive line, just when you compare like what Quinn Ewers has at Texas, what Carson Beck has at Georgia. Cam Ward's offensive line is probably, a little bit better than Shedeur Sanders is being at Miami. But outside of that, like, Quinn is probably my favorite in terms of like pro ready, but if you put him behind a bad offensive line, I think he would really struggle. Shedeur's the one guy who we've seen play pretty well, even behind a very bad offensive line, but the Panthers aren't getting him. And I do believe that there is a better chance than not that they do not draft a quarterback or they trade the pick, because there's not a lot of high-end quarterbacks in this class, which I think hurts their chances to trade it. But I also don't know that they want to take a quarterback because clearly this team is not ready for a starting quarterback. So if you were the GM of the Carolina Panthers, would you 100% take a quarterback, or would you start looking the other direction?
100%. I'm taking a quarterback.
Okay.
100%. Once you pull the plug, like Dave Canals didn't draft Bryce. So once you pulled the plug, it's hard to put that back in the bottle, man. This seems like a situation that is going to go south really quick. And in that expert mock, they did have Texas signal caller Quinn Ewers as the number 1 pick. And JRich, there hasn't been a QB, probably outside of Cam Ward, who I've been more impressed by this season than Quinn Ewers. And I do think that his pro-style attack, playing with Steve Sarkisian, and there is something to QBs having the experience, JRich, just being there, right? He's going to have quality starts under his belt. I can absolutely see Quinn Ewers at the end of the day being the number 1 overall pick for the Carolina Panthers. A much different quarterback. You don't have to worry about arm strength. He can throw over the middle of the field, unlike Bryce Young. I do think if we were mocking this today, it would be Quinn Ewers at number 1. Let's move to number 2, New York Giants. And they've got Daniel Jones under contract. Evan Neal's not very good. They can use all kinds of weapons on the defensive side of the ball. Where do the Giants go?
I think the Giants have to go quarterback. I just think they have to. It's not so much about what do they need, because they do need O-line as well, but there's no way in hell they can run back Daniel Jones. And I do believe this team is a lot better. Like, you talk about just what the Giants are compared to the Panthers, it's not even close. Like, the way it looks on TV right now, and if you were to simulate this game, the Giants would probably win by 20 points. So you took about a quarterback going in there. If Quinn's going number 1, Shedeur's 100% going to Big Apple, big market. Bring Dion if you can. They probably can't, but if you can, bring Dion too. Shedeur has to go to New York. He'll sell a ton of jerseys. He'll make them a ton of money, and he'll have Malik Neighbors as his wide receiver 1. So for me, it has to be Shedeur Sanders. It has to be. Shedeur to Neighbors is wide receiver 1 territory. He will feed him. He will love him. And it will be amazing for fantasy football for both those guys.
Stop talking dirty to me, Jay.
Neighbors and Shedeur would be match made in heaven for both guys.
Who? Neighbors and
Sanders.
I
think we're in agreement here.
Yeah. You know what that is, Jay? It was too early.
Whose cheeks are they clapping in that division? Jane Daniels better watch his back, though, if Shedeur heads there.
All right, Jay. And in this expert mock, the New York Giants did select Shedeur Sanders number 2 in that expert mock. 3, New England Patriots, Jay. Your Pats. The Pats need some protection, right? Yeah, protect them. Got to protect. Got to protect Drake May. They do. Will Campbell, big offensive tackle. You know, they almost gave him number 7 at LSU. They almost gave Will Campbell number 7. That is a historic number at LSU. Only the greats wear number 7. Will Campbell, All-American tackle. LSU's got a good history of them, and right now they got 2 good tackles actually at LSU this year, 2 of them that should be first-round picks. But Will Campbell is who was slotted in. Number 3 to the New England Patriots. I really like that fit. At number 4, Jay, the Tennessee Titans.
Do they keep it in-house? They need everything. They need O-line. They need quarterback. They need D-line.
They need a QB.
Brian Callahan's not having it.
Now, in this expert mock, they do have him selecting Will Johnson out of Michigan, cornerback.
You think
top
he goes
cornerback prospect. He's very good, and
he's good.
The Titans' defense right now is very good. Right now, defensively, they are very, very good. Will Johnson went number 4 to the Tennessee Titans, and I feel like they need a quarterback, but we can't just be QB, QB, QB. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they go defense, but let's have a bigger conversation because we're talking fantasy here. At number 5, Jay, this dude fooled you in the preseason. I mean, had us nervous
Fooled
that
me.
we were going to have to retire from Wake Up. Bo Nix has looked awful, as every rookie quarterback has outside of Jaden Daniels, but they have the Denver Broncos selecting Tedoror McMillan, the big play wide receiver 1 out of Arizona. Would this change how you feel about Bo Nix if you add a receiving weapon like Ted McMillan to this offense?
I don't think so, Ray. I really don't. I love Ted. Ted's amazing. He is easily wide receiver 1 in this class. I think he'd be great in a Sean Payton style of offense, but you still need a quarterback that can deliver the ball. And it just doesn't seem like Bo Nix is that guy. They can't run the football, which is the biggest issue, in my opinion, for the Denver Broncos. And obviously, you're not going to address that at the top of the draft. Ted McMillan would make them significantly better on offense, give them another weapon. But I think when you talk about fantasy football, it just makes Bo Nix a little bit better. And I think Ted can still be good enough in that offense. But it doesn't mean that he's going to raise the floor of Bo Nix to be a usable quarterback for fantasy. So that's my only concern there. And I thought they honestly would go defense. I think they do need to build that up a little bit. But I think getting Ted or Travis Hunter is the guy who I probably would have put there because I think the speed could play a little bit better if he was a wide receiver versus Ted. Ted's got a lot of speed as well. But I think Trav's quick teachability and the way that he gets in and out of breaks could be very beneficial in that offense. Has he had a receiver like Ted? Like, no. I mean, there's no receiver like Ted McMillan basically in the last 2 or 3 years with his size-speed combo. He's ridiculous, but it would be a good fit. How do you feel about Ted in that offense? Because I don't think it would be great for Knicks, but
you know what it would feel like? It feels
Ted.
like neighbors. Feels like neighbors of the Giants. It feels like
Maybe
neighbors
a
of the
little
Giants.
better,
If Bo Nix would just throw it to Ted every play like Daniel Jones, he doesn't care. I'm throwing it to number 1 every time. If that is what Ted would be walking into, totally good with it, man. Totally good with it. Absent that, if he's got to run around and compete with bullshit targets with little Jordan Humphrey and all these other guys, then that would be very problematic.
Josh Reynolds.
Jay.
Yeah.
Moving down the board, you talked about the Washington Commanders. That is Travis Hunter spot. That's where this mock is. Travis Hunter. And in this mock, he is listed as a cornerback. Okay? I do believe that Travis Hunter, I think he's going to play both ways. I think he's going to play both sides of the ball at the next level. And going to a team like the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin hasn't done a damn thing so far. Yeah. I bet you he would play offense too. I bet you he would play both offense and defense for the Commanders. How would that work out in the NFL, JRich? I do not know. But you draft this dude number 6 overall, you're probably going to try to utilize his all-purpose skill set, in my opinion. Better receiver than he is cornerback. Did you know that his interception versus Colorado State was the first one he had in a game since week 1 at TCU? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Wow.
So I was watching the game.
I didn't know that.
But I think he's a little better receiver than he is cornerback. Would you feel about the fit of Travis Hunter in Washington?
It's match made in heaven. It's a team that doesn't have any cornerbacks who are all horrible, and the receivers could definitely use an upgrade. So whether he plays cornerback or receiver, it's probably the best fit for him in the NFL because there's not a lot of teams that need both those positions as badly as they do. And so Travis Hunter can kind of fill both roles a little bit. To your point, he probably pays a bit more cornerback if he goes to the Washington Commanders than wide receiver. But if he does play wide receiver, that would be great for us for fantasy football. Him and Jaden Daniels, he could be his Malik Neighbors.
How great has it been for Terry McLaurin? How great has it been for Luke McCaffrey? Would it be great?
I think you're being a little judgmental of what we see now from Daniels, but I'm talking about, you project a year of growth, a year beyond that. The issue, I think, honestly, is Cliff Kingsbury, but we can kind of talk about that another day. He's awful as an OC. Like, he's kind of got to go. I'm not sold on him. I was hoping we could see what we got from Kyler Murray, but it did take some time, and then eventually it fell apart. But I think a year of experience from Daniels, adding Travis Hunter, keeping Terry McLaurin would be pretty good, and actually a really good offense when you complement it with the running game they have with Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler.
All right, Jay, this is probably going to be the more controversial player discussed, and for me, I don't see this. So the Raiders are picking at 7. We know they're not going to roll into next year with Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell as the starting quarterback. So in this mock, Carson Beck, the quarterback out of Georgia, was selected to be the Raiders' new quarterback. Carson Beck, looks like the prototype quarterback, Jay. Big. I think the arm is solid. He can move around, playing in the SEC. He's got an arm sleeve, tattoos. Jay,
Yeah.
I think he's fine. But I would not be, I don't think he's better than Shador. I don't believe he's better than Quinn. I don't think he's better than Cam Ward, dude. And Cam Ward's been to 3 different schools. If it were me, I would prefer probably Cam Ward to Carson Beck. I do not believe he's the top quarterback in this class. I'm not buying it, Jay. I don't believe. You put Shador at UGA and put Carson Beck in Colorado, I promise you it is different. I guarantee you it is a much different outcome. I think he's fine. I think we're looking for the big prototype. Blah, blah, blah. I think it's a little bit overblown. I am much more intrigued by a player like Jalen Milroe, a player like Jackson Dart, who's got dual threat capability, than I am Carson Beck. We'll see how things play out. Him at 7, I would go a different direction. I'd rather have Cam Ward right there if I'm going to do that, or even Jackson Dart or Milroe, which I don't believe I don't think it's a lock Milroe comes out. I saw somebody else talking about Garrett Nussmeier. I don't think Nuss is going to come out, nor Miller Moss. They just feel like good candidates to chill in that 26 class with Nico.
Because the next year, yeah.
And Drew? Miller Moss, potentially Jalen Milroe could be loaded. I'm just not I'm not there with Carson Beck, man. Like you go out there versus Kentucky and you can't move the ball versus UK. I don't know, man. Yeah. I think it's a little. I'm just not as in on Carson Beck, Jay.
Yeah, you're just drafting another Jared Goff, and in my opinion, especially for the Raiders, how is this any different than Aiden O'Connell? Like maybe he's a slightly better Aiden O'Connell, but I don't see the upside for them. I don't think the team is ready for a player like that. I don't love the fit. I think the offensive line needs to be much better. It literally took me one game of watching him this season. I'm like, he's not any better than he was last year. He's the same guy. There's not a lot of upside. Dude. He's not a floor raiser. There's nothing endearing about this guy. And I just don't see the upside in the NFL. Agreed. In college, absolutely, but not in the NFL.
Agreed. 1,000% agree. Looks like the same dude.
And doesn't have the experience either of a lot of these other guys, which I think we've seen it in the NFL already.
So early in the season, people are very nervous about putting somebody in place of that doesn't feel as safe. He's a safe selection right now. I think I'm just kind of good, Jay. All right, the last couple of teams that are currently inside that top 10, you've got the Colts. They're not taking a quarterback. They're not taking a quarterback. No. They're not taking a QB. You've got the Rams, the Jags, and then the Dolphins, kind of all in that same spot. Chicago right after that. You got Arizona a little bit down the line. They're not taking a quarterback in Chicago. The Cardinals aren't. So let's go L.A., Jacksonville. Would the Rams, if they're picking top 10, and they're right here, and Cam Ward is available, they have to go QB, right? The way they structured Stafford's contract almost makes it feel like they've got to have a plan for the future. The Rams, are they in QB territory here if they are in fact a bottom 10 team in the NFL?
They could be, but I think based off this mock, who are they going to take? Who's the guy who's going to come out? Do they take a Cam Ward in the top 10? We've talked about, and I've mentioned that.
You haven't seen the mock, right? You haven't seen the mock.
No.
All right, let me just give you some names, okay? Cam Ward went 16th to the Browns. Jalen Milroe went 21st to the Jets. So those were the other two quarterbacks inside of round 1. Yeah, Cam Ward, 16th to the Browns. Makes a lot of sense with Deshaun Watson. And you also had Jalen Milroe going to the Jets, which just thinking about him, Breece Hall, and Braylon Allen running the ball would be fun. Those are your other ones. Those are your other QBs for the Rams.
Yeah, I think they probably just go D-line. You look at how bad this team is. I think they realize that this defense isn't good enough. And so, James Pierce still hasn't been drafted, and he's the number 1 edge on the board. That, to me, makes the most sense. Where they're situated in the draft, get a premier edge rusher, or would you go, O-tackle? Is there another O-tackle they could take? Because it feels like they need to build the trenches. They do need a quarterback, but I don't think they would address it in round 1.
JRich, this is how early we are. You want to know how many... I don't think I've seen this before. You know how many tackles were selected in this mock in the first round?
Probably 3. And there should be way more than that.
Two.
Should be
both
way more.
LSU
There's
tackles.
no way.
There's no way. No other tackle in the first round. You nailed the Rams pick. They went interior D-line, Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. They went Brian Brzee and Jared Verse last year, both high picks. So I don't know how much more, especially when you got Byron Young there as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars went safety, Malachi Starks, and then you talked about James Pierce, the edge. He ended up going to Chicago at number 12. Luther Burden, 13th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just giving you some fantasy relevant guys. Isaiah Bond, fast, explosive wide receiver out of Texas, goes to the New Orleans Saints. Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan to the Cincinnati Bengals. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State, 17th to the Los Angeles Chargers. And the one that would literally, Jay, I'm pulling my pants off on stream. Where's my wife at? She's somewhere in the house. I'm pulling them off, Jay. The Dallas Cowboys at number 22 select Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty.
Of course.
Oh, baby.
Of course.
Oh, my knees are weak. I'm lightheaded. My knees are weak. Go get the towel, baby. Go get the wet towel, Jay. I'm excited. I am excited. Ashton Jeanty to the Cowboys. I'd lose my mind, Jay. A couple of players that I do want you all to be paying attention to this weekend. Top 5 receiver in this class that nobody's talking about. Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, my God. If you haven't watched him play, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss will be a top 5 wide receiver in this class. But interesting to see some of these QB landing spots, some of these receiver landing spots. And as we progress throughout the season, we're going to check in every Wednesday after we do these final player takes. We're going to check in with some of these mocks. We'll do some rookie mocks. But as we get more information and this class starts to really take shape, there's some good fantasy options here. If you're talking about Jeanty and Ollie Gordon, Nicholas Singleton, Quinshon Judkins, Tet Burden, Trey Harris, you got these This is going to be a fun 2025 NFL draft class. Anything you want to say to the people before we get out of here, Jay?
No, I just hope everyone has a great week. We'll see us on Friday. We will be dropping our ranking shows as separate videos. So we'll be talking just straight picks, bets, matchups on Friday. But this is a fun show. You know, I don't know if Malachi Starks is going to be a high draft pick, but we'll see. You don't see safeties drafted very high in drafts, especially now, and like 2 O tackles in the first round. Like that's not happening.
Carpentier in the building. What's up, Cody? My dog Cody is in the building. This was that expert mock, Cody, that dropped yesterday, that 2025. I don't know who the hell did it. But Carpentier said Jeanty is nice in Dallas, but I would love Houston. Screw that, man. Get the hell out of here, Cody.
Come on. What are you talking about?
Come on, Cody. It's Dallas, baby. It's Dallas. You know it's Dallas. Hit the music, JRich. Stanley says Mason Taylor will go 20. I love Mason Taylor. I told you about Mason Taylor. Tight end class is good. I don't think you got to take him in the top 20. Tight end class is good. No. JRich's compadre, Swim, is in the building. See how many times Swim agreed with JRich on the show. That is his burner account. Oh, and St. Seth. Where's the Jalen Tolbert love, Ray? Yeah, Tolbert's nice. He's nice.
You did tell the people to pump the brakes on Tolbert. You did.
Well, what happened? Why should I be bullish today? Did something happen?
He plays the Ravens this week.
Anything you want to say? Sure.
Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Who's doing the outro, me or you?
I'm doing the outro. We appreciate y'all being here. If y'all stuck around to the end of the video, as we said, hit that thumbs up button, like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back on Friday. We're doing running back rankings. We're doing wide receiver rankings using Trinity. Listen, Jay, there's a lot. I'm sick of it, JRich. I'm seeing all these people put all these fucking numbers out. This per route, this 98% of y'all don't know what the hell that means. If I asked you what a yard per route run is, you wouldn't even know. No damn clue what it is. Trust the Trinity. All that stuff made simple. Who's being used? Who's scoring fantasy points? That's all you care about, really, right? Usage and the production. Trust the Trinity. ddfantasyfootball.com. Get in the community. Destination Debbie. We're doing it big. JRich, we out of this thing. We'll see y'all on freaking Friday. I gotta go. Time to go to work.
Peace.
Peace.